Today I'm on my way to Marisa Evelo. She's a new consciousness psychologist and a wonderful, beautiful goddess. The beautiful thing is that I've noticed that she, in her practice, although classically trained, is guiding people through these confusing and sometimes very painful processes of human evolution. And this is something that makes the world a little bit easier and more beautiful. And I wanted to talk to her because I was curious about where we are right now in human evolution, what she's seeing with ordinary people and what their struggles and obstacles are. So it's going to be a very interesting talk, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen. Enjoy. For introductions, what can you tell about yourself that normally isn't said to people? Normally we use words like, this is my role, this is my name, this is my age, I live there and there. But what characterizes you? What is it that you can say about that?
Well, the first things that come into my mind is I'm a very positive person. I know that when you listen to spiritual leaders, they usually say there was this script that the world would end in 2012. I never ever doubted that it wouldn't end. I'm very positive and optimistic. So I have always clearly felt, no, I'm here to make this new earth. Although I didn't know that we would make a new earth, but I had this, well, never-ending everlasting confidence. We will make it.
Have you noticed any difference in openness, consciousness with your clients?
Yes, I experienced that more people are, well, one step further, you could say, than they were 10 years ago. People were just, well, the word spirituality was new. And how does that taste? What is this? What is it? You know, that kind of people came to me, and now people have read books, watched television, mainly have a lot of information from the internet, and they experience themselves, they recognize themselves in that. So they come from another point of view, so I can start working on another level than I did 10 years ago, which is very nice. So now I get people who say, plainly say, I'm a new child, so can you help me because I don't understand this world, and what can I do here, because I really don't like it here. So if there's nothing to do for me, I'll leave, you know. Okay, I do understand that they want that, but they are here for a purpose, so you should find out what your purpose is.
Within your practice, you notice there's a growth in consciousness. Do you also get people in that have special qualities?
Yes, I in the beginning I didn't know what I was specialized in because there were no words for what I was doing. And then at the late 90s there came this researcher in the States, she's called Elaine Arendt, and she made high sensitivity more common. So that term I used in my work. So many people came because they recognized themselves as being a highly sensitive person. Now people more and more come because they recognize themselves that they connect with and want to live from that new consciousness, from that concept to live from the heart and have that expanded consciousness. So there's a shift going on. Most people do recognize themselves in high sensitivity, being a highly sensitive person, but more and more people say they are highly sensitive, but when I talk to them I more recognize that they are multidimensional, because when our consciousness is expanding we are open to more of the world than what we call this dimension, this true measurable world. There's more. And now that our consciousness is expanding, we can connect with that. So that can give a lot of challenges, because when you expand with your consciousness and you have not learned to anchor in your own system and to stay in your own system and not lose yourself with your attention and your energy to whatever you hear and whatever you see and whatever you think of and whatever is happening that you can sense, you lose yourself. So this was not a problem 30 years ago, because our consciousness was not that open. Now it is. So now we have to learn to stay centered in our own system and to define what we are in that system.
You were talking earlier about multidimensionality. Can you explain a little bit about what multidimensionality is to you?
Multidimensionality, well, we have this dimension we call Earth. And now we have this approach of the truth that everything is true only when we can measure it, right? That's the scientific approach. And well, there is of course a lot more. There is also a lot more than we are used to experience. One way you could define multidimensionality is there are these other types of worlds, like people who see people who have died, right? Or who can contact with elves and other living sorts. But there's also multidimensionality in the way that my soul has gone through this veil, and I'm part of the light of my soul, but I'm not the only light. So there are multidimensional parts of me also living alive and doing experiencing things for the soul, which is the purpose of being here. So that's multidimensionality also. And there's also multidimensionality like connecting to my higher consciousness. So we say we lived in the third dimension up until a couple of years ago, and now we live in the fifth dimension, but I also can connect to the 6th and the 7th, and up till the 12th is what we are supposed to do on this earth, what we thought we would do on this earth. So you haven't got a clue what the 3rd and the 5th are, but I can't tell you that in this short notice. I'm sorry.
Do you have an idea or a perspective or maybe a glimpse from what the future might bring with all these multidimensional beings?
That's a nice question. I think we will make a lot less noise, literally, because we don't need to speak that much, because we sense so much more from one another than that we don't have to use these words. And also because we are because we will be more centered. We need to. We can't afford to not. When there is communication, it's very clear and strong, you know. So I think, well, we will live from the heart, but we will not be in love with everyone. One people you still like more than the other one. But I think you will notice that very much sooner, and I also think it won't be a problem if you, for example, don't like me and say, "Hello Marisa, have a nice day, I won't talk to you." It's okay. So the world will become more clear, and I love clarity, so I think that's nice. And you know, words are very, in a sense, very rudimentary things, and our consciousness is color, sound and geometry. So we will be more sensitive to these things, although we don't know that we are sensitive for it, because we already do have this. We say this person has a charisma. I don't know if you call this in English the same way. And we don't know what it is, charisma, but it has a lot to do with the energy. So, and I think we will sense that more and more. So, and that is why, for example, the people who now are diagnosed ASS, autism spectrum, they have difficulty expressing themselves in words, because they do so much more with their consciousness that can't be put in words. So if they could use words, they would probably need this much time, but because we don't understand it, they need that much time. But I think this gap which now exists will close. And autistic people have come to our planet to help us. They are in a way further with their development than we are. The main people don't think this. They say they have a diagnosis, so they should adapt to us. But it's the other way around. They have come to help us, and I think this gap in communication will narrow down, and that's great news when this happens, because there's a lot of information with which they can help us to make this beautiful new planet with peace and a beautiful nature, and yes, I think so.
What you're saying is that there are many children born into this world with new talents that are helping us to evolve into a new human being. And so the autism spectrum is a helpful thing. There's one of those things that is growing very fast in the last 20 years. Yeah. But also the ADD disorders, stuff like that, dyslexia. But and there's also something like image thinking, which is communicating on a wordless level as well. Yes. So there are many ways that that you can see that our human nature is shifting into something way more sensitive than we have ever experienced before. How can I make a step into using that sensitivity, and the people at home as well, to just communicate in that level in order to help lift evolution a little bit more?
Well, first of all, please accept who you are. Be in love with who you are, because only then your own talents can come out and you can open yourself and use these talents in the right proportion. Because if you don't like it or put it behind the closet or whatever you do with it, you can't use it. So be happy with who you are. This is very important, I think. And yes, communicate whatever in words or image or with the other people, but also give them time. Because sometimes this is something which happens a lot to people that are a bit further in the development. They think that if they simply explain in words or in image, whatever, then the other person understands you. No, sometimes the gap between the perspective you have and the other person has is too broad. They really haven't got a clue what you are talking about. So please then give them time so they can grow and you can narrow down this gap. It needs time, and energetically you will give your message anyway. That's the fun. But sometimes they really have no clue what you're talking about. It's the same thing with, we now use more and more the word compassion. 30 years ago, we hadn't got a clue what a compassion is. Most people still don't have a clue what compassion is, but the word is being used more and more because compassion is from that higher consciousness, a normal word to use, normal energy to use. It's an energy. But it was not when we lived here, so we didn't know what to do with it. So patience is important as well. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's very beautiful that you say first and foremost, love yourself, be in love with whoever you are and in every expression. And it's in my experience, that's also where you will find the patience for other people to grow, make space for them to be who they are at this stage of their evolution. And so it doesn't become as urgent anymore to convince another person. You can just let go and tell them, this is who I am, and walk on with your own life.
That's why I use the word compassion.
Yes.
Because compassion fits here very, very well. And first use the word, the energy of compassion for yourself. Are compassionate to yourself, to who you are, to the things you maybe missed and did different than one should have done it now, whatever. Be compassionate to yourself, and if when the compassion grows in yourself, for yourself, you can give it to the other people as well. That's no problem at all. Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a wonderful conversation, and we will bring home a lot of love and self-compassion. Yeah, compassion. Yes. We will bring home a lot of self-compassion with us. And thank you for your message and your time.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Beautiful questions.